So a woman, it's really exciting for me, doubly exciting for me when a woman comes to me and says, you know what? I'm ready for whatever is next. I
Yes.
am good.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm gonna go home today and look, if he threatens to do this, that, or the other, I'm okay. I got it. I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And I always kind of go like, wow,
What
that's
happened?
really, yeah,
Yes.
I've thought it over, and where I am is
Hmm.
not okay. And where I want to
Ah.
be is where I want to get to. So I
Hmm.
understand that it's me that has to get there. He's not gonna lay out the red carpet and say, honey, go become
Hmm.
whoever you need to. That is not happening. So
No.
it's going to be up to me. And I get it. And I take ownership of my life and I'm ready. I mean, if I end
Mm.
up in a cottage on the end of a cul-de-sac, that's okay. I can look, I'm good.
Sometimes the story we tell ourselves is not really true. Sometimes the story others tell about us is not really true. Here on today's Heart Lift with Janelle, we are going to learn how to rewrite our story. So pick up your favorite pen and journal, grab a cup of something delicious, and start your heart-lifting journey towards living a meaningful life.
Hello, Heartlifters, and welcome to today's Heartlift with Janelle. So happy that you have come back for part 2 of my conversation with Dr. David Hawkins, author of Why Marriage Counseling Fails. Is the problem the marriage or the counselor? He is also the founder of the Marriage Recovery Center. Please take some time to go look around that site. It is a center online that is so helpful. And you'll find all of that help at marriagerecoverycenter.com. Want to make sure you have that right here from the get-go, as we say, marriagerecoverycenter.com. And I just realized that they offer a mini intensive, a little 3-hour starter. And so I'm excited, very, very excited for you to know and learn more about that. Part 1 was filled with a very hard conversation about things like intervention, separation, divorce, and the signals that might be trying to tell us our marriage is on the failing path. But we also left you with lots of hope because that's what we do here, Heartlifters, right? I wanted to read from Dr. Hawkins' book, pages 25 and 26. He writes some closing thoughts of this chapter, the work of love and marriage. And I believe his closing thoughts really serve as our mantra, our intention for these 2 episodes that we have had. He wrote them, but I feel them strongly as well. I don't want you to get the wrong idea here. We are so pro-marriage. My goodness, I am just weeks away from 38 years of marriage. He writes, I still think marriage is wonderful, even though that is where all of my idiosyncrasies and character flaws are exposed. I still believe in buying CDs. That's so funny. Kind of is a little outdated these days, isn't it? We could just say, I still believe in listening to podcasts and playing minuets. I still believe in buying travel guides to far-off countries and wistfully listening to Beethoven being played by a 12-year-old. I still smile at romantic comedies and chuckle when 2 unlikely loves find their way to each other. I'm a believer in love and marriage. I'm also a believer in the work it takes to identify and combat self-defeating, relationship-defeating traits, and cultivating those relationship-building skills that hold a couple together. So, let's believe together that enduring, heart-palpitating love is possible. Let's believe together that enduring, heart-palpitating love is possible, that the vows we made at the altar were meaningful but must be grounded in the reality that we need more. So let's all just place our hand over our heart before we get started here. And let's just take a beautiful heart grounding. just slow ourselves down, because the message today is very important. The content is hard. It's difficult to hear. The message today is also for anyone who is in the helping profession, or maybe just a friend of someone struggling. You don't have to be a therapist, a counselor, or a coach, but we do want to grow as heart lifters to be that safe person who offers a safe space to someone to vocalize their crushing pain, so that we can help them move their way towards freedom. So without further ado, I bring on part 2 of my conversation with Dr. David Hawkins. Yeah.
So anyway, do you see that too? Do you see?
I think it takes several sessions typically for someone to find that sense of agency and find their voice and find their value, depending on the length and the duration of the pain that they've been living under. Right. And also in my work, it is a mentality in the female, particularly, that she's not allowed to do that. Unless, of course, the one grave way we can get a divorce is infidelity. That's where the Bible seems to release us, and so it's just been so challenging for me. This is my 10th year, because I didn't start this journey until my 50s, my 10th year of practice this month. So I want to just thank you. I want to clarify one thing before I move into asking you to help us as therapists and clinicians and just friends, how we can maybe help people. But going back to the fact that separation, I don't want to stop there. So what might be something that behooves you to suggest maybe you need to take a period of separation? Is there a moment that you look for?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
And it is. It's what I look for, Janelle, is how before someone would ever take a physical separation, I really want them to be able to take an emotional separation.
Yes.
What's an emotional separation? It's a pulling apart from the craziness that's happening in the relationship. So if a woman is talking to me and she's telling me, oh man, I just, he said this and he said that and he said this and he said that. And I just find myself so utterly exhausted. Please remember that word, Janelle, because exhaustion is what I see women experiencing largely. So she's exhausted. So I want to, and that tells me, oh my, I really want to encourage you to begin taking the steps to have an emotional separation where you're literally taking time apart for prayer, reflection, journaling,
exhaling,
friendship. Right. You're walking through town, you're taking care of your artistic side, your emotional side, your spiritual side, your physical side. Anyway, you're taking an emotional separation. And then if that really isn't giving you the relief to think clearly, that's the point.
That's it. Bingo.
Point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the point. Because if we're caught
rationally,
up in he said this, he said that, he said this, he said that, and it just gets my head spinning.
Confusing.
And it does confusion. Mm-hmm. So we work with this woman to pull apart emotionally, and then if necessary, we say, look, it's probably going to be important that you even pull apart even more, because you need to be able to think clearly and to have some space between you and the messages that are coming at you. And if you can't do that in the relationship, then it may be time to pull apart.
And would that be just being in separate bedrooms if there is availability, like being inside the house and doing that? Or
it starts there. So it starts with, I think if I were going to say the stages, it would be starting with an emotional separation. You're recognizing that I need to stop wrangling with him about A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. I need to stop the wrangling. I need to identify what's going on here. What are the messages that are coming at me? What is the impact it's having on me? So you pull apart emotionally and you have some space to reflect.
Yeah.
Maybe you then pull apart in the house, you spend more time apart. And then if that's not effective, yes, you take maybe you take a weekend away, you go visit a friend or something.
I love
or
that
then you
so
maybe
much.
4 days away, maybe a week away. And by the way, Janelle, this probably won't surprise you. When a woman, I want everybody to hear help, yellow highlighter here.
Get your highlights out.
There's one word that a woman always, and I never
universal
use
statement.
always.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Here we go. I'm not gonna give you the answer. What is the word that a woman gives me after she has spent 4 days alone, walking the beach with the journal, praying, reflecting, and being out of the chaos? What's one word that explains? So I say to her, what are you feeling? This is a test. What do you think the word is? One word. Starts with an R, ends with an F.
I was going to say rested or
relief.
Relief. Yes.
Relief.
Yes.
Every
oh my gosh.
100% of the time, 100%, she comes back to me and she says, I just feel such relief. Now that adds to its own problems, of course, because I just spent 4 days at the beach. And I was able to think and reflect and pray, and I'm seeing some things, but now I'm back and I have some work to do. But nonetheless, that tells us a lot, doesn't it? When a woman will come to us and say, my goodness, the tension I wasn't aware of how much tension I was carrying.
Or responsibility, like relief to me is like it just helps the responsibility come, the hyper responsibility of carrying a marriage or carrying a family, of letting down your children, of splitting apart, a legacy, the first divorce in forever. There are so many things. I know you've heard them. I just can't do this. I can't believe that this is happening and all of those things. But relief. And so
there's another quality that you just bumped into. Women, what I notice is that women start to feel parental with their husbands.
Without a doubt.
So, he is immature and he underfunctions and she overfunctions. And she comes to me and she says, I have to tiptoe. I have to watch what I say. I have to care for the kids. I have to care for the home. I have to care for the marriage. I have to care for the. And so then that becomes an entrenched way of functioning. And that's something that we clinicians see. We see the over-functioning woman who has gotten there one step at a time.
One little eggshell at a time. One little voice. I mean, I've heard so many times in older, women of my age or even younger, we couldn't upset daddy, when we were little kids.
Right.
If we, so they learned to repress and they learned to submit and they learned all the wrong ways of, not being seen or heard or loved or belong, which is secure attachment, which, just complicates the marriage to no end. So I do think that women take on that. And when that happens, you get lost, they do. You just get lost.
They do.
You just don't know who the heck you are.
No, they come in and they talk to you and I, and they say, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I think anymore. Or they will say this, they will say, I'm acting in ways that I don't even recognize. I can let out 4-letter words now.
Yes, I've done that. I've been there in that season where I'm like, I don't know who I am and where did she come from and what's going on?
Who is this person that's invaded my body?
It's very scary. It's a scary thing.
It is a scary, scary thing.
It's a very scary thing. And I'm not proud of that season, but it was necessary to come to terms with finding my voice and my value. I had to go through it personally. So Heartlifter, there was someone out there listening today that you're going, this is all just hitting way too close to home. And you just heard Dr. Hawkins say, you've lost yourself. You don't know who you are. Why am I doing these things? Why am I doing this and that and the other? Well, listen, We're going to give you some hope here, right? We're going to give some hope. You write, this is all so good, and I could just keep bouncing into things. I'm going to try so hard.
It's what we do. It's
what we do. Okay. It's a rabbit trail, and then we'll get to the piece de resistance. But in chapter 4, you do talk about resistance and barriers to getting help. And, I said in the very beginning before we came on that, what I loved most about you saying in the beginning of the book is we all need help. Okay. So then why do we resist it? And what do you think is the greatest barrier? We talked about fear. We did that. You list them in the book. So you must get Why Marriage Counseling Fails and read it. We're not going to talk about all of them today.
Yeah.
But is there one pounding on your heart today more than others, or one that maybe
I think the biggest thing pounding on my heart, Janelle, is that I think people have been let down. So everybody who comes through my door, who's seeking my help, they say this. Here's another universal. They say to me, oh my goodness, we've tried counselors. We've been to counseling 3 or 4 times. We've gone to marriage retreats. Yep. We've gone to marriage seminars, and we're at the exact same place.
I hear it.
We're just weary. So, Dr. Hawkins, maybe you can help us. I don't really think you can, but maybe you can. I mean, you've written a couple of books, and but I got to tell you, Dr. Hawkins, that you're our last. This is it. We're really out of. Okay.
No pressure.
So anyway,
no pressure, Dr. Hawkins.
Exactly. That's exactly what I think. Like,
oh dear, goodness. I have to rise up here. Yes.
So sadly, people have not gotten help, and I throw a lot of rocks at me. I
know. Go ahead and start throwing rocks. It's okay. Yeah, okay. I want to find out. Yes.
Well. Okay, look, Janelle. Okay, here I go.
Because I know you would throw them at yourself first. Like you've already said that in your book.
First, I look at what I did. I look back and I think, okay, this couple came to me, and I squeezed them into a 45-minute session.
I know.
And then they poured out their heart and their soul. And then I had the audacity, Janelle, to say, okay, folks, we've got to stop. Time's up. I'll see you again next. I'm sorry. I can't see you next week. It'll be 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. But then I can see you 2 weeks after that, and then 2 weeks after that. So yeah, and by the way, I'm going to give you a couple of handouts.
Yeah.
But that should
or
help
tell you to read a book. My book. Read my book.
I'll give them one of my books.
This is not funny. This really happens.
Janelle, it's okay. It's malpractice. Come on.
Talk.
So what I've discovered, you and I started our broadcast with this, that this stuff is complex.
It is.
These are two human beings with a long history of different issues and character problems and so on. It is the most complex thing that you or I will ever do. We're going to squeeze them into a 50-minute I don't know. I'm not asking you what you do, but anyway, anymore, I am taking on fewer couples.
Bravo.
And I'm working with them longer and in more depth. And so I say to them, folks, look, I don't know how we're going to work out the finances at the time, but I want to see you every week for 2 hours. And then in a couple of months, I want you to fly up to Seattle, and I want to work intensively with you for 3 days. And then I want you to go home, and then I want you to fly back up to Seattle. And then I want you to fly to Mexico with me. And I know I'm talking.
This is fantastic. Oh, no. This is my model, though, because I tried to work at a practice in 50 minutes, and in 9 months, I couldn't do it. I had to quit and start intensive work. And
I'm glad to hear you say that.
No, I did. I couldn't do it. I couldn't say,
if a couple is coming to me for a tune-up, they've already done a ton of
maintenance,
work, a ton. Correct. And they're coming and they just need a few look, we've hit a speed bump. Yes. You worked with us 5 years ago intensively, and man, we went out, we did great, but now we got a little bit of a speed bump. Okay, tune up away. Perfect.
Yes.
But if they're coming to you or me,
the get-go,
and the problems are complex,
so complex,
they can hardly hold space for each other. They can hardly learn.
That's correct.
They can hardly validate each other's perspective. They talk over each other. They're hurt. They're wounded. They're, as you called it, trauma-informed wounds. and we're going to work with them for 45 or 50 minutes and tell them to come back in 2 weeks.
Doesn't work.
And it just doesn't work. So anyway,
because honestly, if I can interject, sometimes even the intensive doesn't work.
Exactly.
So I definitely want you to shine the light on, I love the intensive model. It's what I do. It is overwhelming for me as a trauma-informed therapist. It can be, so you have to be cautious and really take care of yourself. But so we've determined the resistance, the barriers can often be the time, the fear, the expense. You've said a lot of things, the magical thinking you talk about, the emotional laziness, which I circled with a very big red pen, because I think that's the one that's most critical. But because we only have a short time left, sadly, speak to that, to us as the caretaker, as the mental health professional, as even the pastor, the friend, the elder, the woman sitting at a table, because one of my greatest passions is to once again train up just the lay person, to have these skills in a normal conversation, to be able to identify some things and be able to speak some truth. So, you give a lot of tenets in here for good counselors and what that looks like. Let's say, Susie and somebody come to you and they are at the end of their rope and they don't think they can leave and they're scared to death. What would you advise someone to look for? What is important?
Before I do that, I want to give 4 C words.
Okay.
That I think all of us counselors have a responsibility to do.
Okay.
The 4 words are clarity.
Oh, you've said that.
Compassion, courage, and course of action. I'll take each one of them and give a little bit of a highlight here. Clarity. We have a responsibility. These people come to us overwhelmed with emotion. They are so frustrated, so exhausted. They're in the middle of a muddle, and we have a responsibility. And my goodness, I'm kind of choking up a little bit here because it's just so important that these people, everybody who comes to us, they're
so broken.
We are emergency room doctors. That's what we are.
I do feel that way. I do feel like I'm 911.
911. So we better get that right. We're not just on the corner of 4th and Pine and saying, come on in. No.
Have a cup of coffee.
Have a cup of coffee and some crackers, and we'll chat, and then we'll do it again in 2 weeks. And no, this is 911. Okay, so clarity. We have a responsibility to do all that we can to
it's a big deal. I feel it because I love deeply and care deeply.
Expertise and our passion. And the second one is our compassion. My goodness, any counselor listening, and if you're going to counseling, if you don't feel this person's compassion for you, if they're not bringing a passion to this work, get the
heck out, run,
leave. This is 911. Your marriage is at stake. Your life is at stake. So clarity. You have a right to expect someone who will roll up their sleeves and help you determine a path of clarity. Second is compassion. The third is courage. They need encouragement.
They do.
Look, I'll help you discover the next step. That's all you got to do. Just get the flashlight, like Janelle said, get the flashlight out and do one step, and I'll help you with that step, and I'm going to lock arms with you. I'm in this with you.
Yes.
And the last is a course of action. I'll make this brief. In my 40 years, I began by saying, I'm just going to be supportive, not going to give any direction. Everybody can find their own way.
Yeah.
That was just where I went, unconditional positive regard, what we all learned.
Affirmation of their state and status.
Exactly. But in the last 10 years, I'm just so different, Janelle. I am here. I'm going to help you determine a good course of action and a direction. And everybody says, thank you thank you. I was lost. And so I'm not, I don't have any supernatural
magic pill.
powers. I do not have that. But
no, we can't wave a wand. I always say that.
But we can walk with them. And if anybody listening is in counseling, you're not getting clarity, you're not getting compassion, you're not getting encouragement, and you're not getting a clear path of direction, run. So anyway, there you go. That's my, what do you,
I think that, well, clarity, you've said that several times today. And I think clarity is a whole topic of a podcast of like, how do we get that clarity, both as the client when we are, put me through a drill. I ask them to do that, ask me any questions. Don't just, if I'm not clicking with you, we're wasting our time. And I don't have time to waste, and nor do they. But I wonder, now that you're moving into, like you've moved in this last decade, was there an impetus? Did something push you into that, where you just like, this model's not working, or have marriages just got, a lot worse, a lot more serious?
No, marriages haven't gotten worse. I've gotten more sophisticated and able to see, my goodness, Janelle, when I do a marriage intensive, by the way, I do 3 days. I could do 4. I'm moving into a time in my practice where I might end up doing 5 days.
A week or 5 days. Yeah.
I might bring 3 couples in and do 10 days.
Perfect.
That's my heart's desire. So, and when I do this intensive work, I just feel there's so much more movement. There's so much more insight and practice.
And more clarity.
And they walk away saying, oh my, this has been profound. So anyway,
Fabulous.
You get enough of that feedback, and
you're on the
you're on the right path. And
well, plus
and
I think, I'm sorry.
You say to somebody, I can see you 2 weeks from Tuesday, and you hear them go, what?
Which is what's happening post-COVID as well. There is an increase in mental illness and trauma, the families having been sequestered, and homeschooling, and all the million things that have been placed on families, loss of work, now inflation. So there is, I can see you in 3 weeks, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And so what do we do? Like, what do you do? I would love to just have a peek inside of your therapist heart, your clinical heart, of how do you manage, like, do you give access to texting if you're doing intensives, like clients in the middle of this? I mean, how do you manage? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but how do you manage and preserve yourself?
This may shock you. I don't know. I've never been reluctant to give out my phone number or my email. So, what I do, I have a team. Thank God, I have a team of clinicians and just supportive client care staff.
Fantastic.
So I have some guards.
Support. You have a guard, right?
But the people who get into me, this is where I get passionate again. Whoever I decide to work with, it's my responsibility. Then, if I've said yes, I will work with you. Yes. That means, yes, you can text me. That means, yes, I will take time. That means, and my wife is understanding about this. I say, honey, I might need to take a 20-minute phone call later, early this evening, and then I'll turn my phone off and But no, if I've said yes, then yes means I have a responsibility, and I'm in. I'm going to roll up my sleeves, and you. Whoever works with me, and I hope you're this way, and I think other clinicians need to be this way. The client needs to feel like we are locked arms with them.
Yes,
they're not alone. Much like, I don't know how you are with a physician, but I want my physician to care about me.
I want him to remember me.
Exactly.
Remember my history a little bit anyway.
When I walk out the door, I want them to say, look, I care about you, or some form of that.
Just some form. Yes.
We're in this together. So anyway,
I love that. And if I could ask a clinician question as well. I guess the longer I do this, I've got 30 years to catch up on you, but I'll be pretty old by then. But I don't know. I might still be doing this. I hope I am.
You might.
I might. I'll have my PhD by then, maybe. Is it okay? Is it a good practice to, especially doing intensive work, to be very contractual, or like, you've got to do these things. I want to see you
absolutely
doing your work, or you're going to move on to someone else.
No, that's absolutely true.
Okay.
Absolutely true. So, I mean, because I'm saying to them, look, I'm going to lock arms with you.
That's
but
right.
You
gotta lock arms.
Yeah, that's right. If I lock arms with you, you lock arms with me. And so I'm going to call you out. And I remind them, please remember, I always, at the start of an intensive, I say, are you giving me permission to speak into your lives on the places and issue? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Speak away. And then I say, now, when I do it, it's going to feel different.
Not going to feel so good.
Yeah. So please remember this moment that you said, yes, I want to be coached, and I want to be taught, and I want to be confronted, and I want to be challenged. So please remember all of that, because I'm going to do that. And it's going to get a little dicey, because look, I mean, and I'd say to this to them, imagine what would happen if we get into an intensive and I just sit back and go,
like the old days when in the movies, that's
got to be tough. Oh,
yeah, it's rough.
Goodness. No, I'm in and go, oh my goodness, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that?
Okay, good.
And we're mixing it up, and it gets
messy.
Yeah, challenging. Absolutely.
So what are the benefits? Leave us on a high note. What are the benefits? What's a joy story? What are the benefits of good counseling?
The benefits are many. The benefits are a couple who is actively engaged, and they're working hard, and they're getting better, and they're learning how to really listen to each other and validate each other's point of view, and they're breaking some old bad habits, and I'm partnering with them, and we've got this beautiful thing happening, and they're getting better and stronger and healthier, and so change is occurring, and change begets change, and competence begets competence, and excitement begets excitement, and so it's all good. It's all good. So that's what can happen for any clinician listening here, or any potential client. Take a chance, find the right person. And when you find the right person, you will get excited, and you'll be encouraged, and you'll be challenged.
And you will feel, I see it happen, relief.
Yeah.
It's like you can see it at the end of a really hard session or an intensive, when it's been brought out, and there's just, it's such a great feeling.
It's very, very worthwhile. It's a worthy thing that we do as counselors, and it's a worthy thing that any couple or individual would do too, to grow and to be challenged, and allow someone to speak into your life in a very healthy and kind and compassionate way.
It's very gratifying to stick with it when, barring any domestic abuse, barring any of the grave things that we were talking about that today. We're just talking about, lots of maybe things that need to get unearthed from our old selves and become a new self. But I think it's so gratifying, and I get so disheartened and so sad when people stop right before the finish line of freedom. It's like, no. You're going to have to do it if you start over. I know you are. It's going to be a new person, and it's going to take some time. So I just want to encourage everyone listening, and thank you so much, Dr. Hawkins. Are you taking on intensive clients? Are you open for business, or are you overwhelmingly full at this point?
Well, let me give a qualified answer. I mean, I am busy, but I'm always, if I can't help
get on a waiting list,
somebody on my team that will help you, you won't be on a waiting list. You'll be worked with immediately. And so, they can go to our website, marriagerecoverycenter.com, and learn about what we're doing, and love to hear from folks.
I love that. And I will give everyone your information. What's your favorite emotional health tool for yourself? Like, what is your favorite emotional marriage tool, or just for yourself to stay, always growing, always learning, always seeking?
Well, I will give two. I mean, one is a loving and satisfying marriage that I have, that my wife, Christy, oh boy, I'm going to get upset again here. So,
that's a good thing.
when I'm, and that's the second thing, is practicing everything that I'm teaching.
Preach.
So practicing, growing and learning more about making healing movements in my marriage and taking ownership in my marriage. So all of that. So it's and then seeing the benefits of doing that. So that's
committed to the practice. That's what we say here. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I hope and pray that we hear from you again. But until then, thank you.
All right. God bless everything you're doing. It's wonderful. So thank you.
Thanks for listening today. It was great having you here. For even more great content and resources, please join the Stronger Everyday online community at JanelleRaridan.com. Always remember, you, my friend, have value, worth, and dignity.